All right.
Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together and love one another.
Go get your test. Go get your test.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Oh, are we recording?
We are. I'm just making shit up.
I love that. Go ahead.
That way we just don't have to dive right into the...
Sing us some more.
That's the only part I know.
Sing it again.
Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together and love one another right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
One of the greatest songs from the 60s,
That was written by a guy by the name of Dino Valenti, who actually was with Quicksilver Messenger Service for a while.
Okay.
And Dino also wrote What About Me? And remember that, ooh, what you gonna do about me?
I'm not going to try and sing.
And then the other one, well, that's not singing either.
That's better than me.
And the other was Fresh Air. Ooh, have another hit, Fresh Air. So he's the one that wrote those.
Did he record Get Together?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Like the Quicksilver? I wonder if they ever did that.
I don't know.
Or if they just
maybe if he was with another band.
Gave it to the Youngbloods and said, hey, Youngbloods.
Yeah, you go do your thing.
Do your thing with
Get
our
together
song.
now.
Smile on your brother.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Rock and Roll Confessional.
Rock and roll. Anything you want to confess?
I want to confess that, no, I don't have anything to confess today.
You sure?
I think if I were to confess something, it's always the music that brought me to music, but it wasn't always the lyrics. Like, I don't know a lot of lyrics. I know very few. Like, I can hum a couple pieces, but I don't know that much lyrics. It's always the music that pulled me in. What about you?
It was the lyrics.
Well, if you're a Joni Mitchell fan, you have
Joni
to go.
Mitchell, Jackson Brown, James Taylor, the new U2 stuff. I love the Bruce stuff. I mean, it's always the lyric for me. And then, if the music's good and adds to it, like, I'll confess this.
Okay.
You know that song, Rama Lama?
Grandma Llama Ding Dong?
No, Rama Lama from Johnny Anderson.
That you've been playing like 400 times since you got it?
Yes, and I've only played it for an hour straight today.
Okay.
So I find it helps my mantra. It gets me in the mood.
Well, like we said, it's a very good spiritual album.
Yeah. So you'll be hearing about that on an upcoming podcast real soon. This mini episode, we are talking with Jesse Colin Young, as CW was singing. Yeah, he and the Youngbloods sang that song. They began in the mid-'60s and had hits like
Get Together,
Darkness, Darkness, along with an extensive...
Quitting time. Is it 5 o'clock? Is our union break starting right now? Sorry, folks. The union's calling us. We have to go do our break. We'll be back.
Called Turn Off Your Phone, Rita. Because I had turned it off before, but then I wasn't getting any phone calls, and it's like, what did I do? And then I had to go all through the iPhone. And anyway, I confess I'm a technical idiot.
That's okay.
This mini episode, we are talking with Jessica.
We didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh.
Just because you know you doesn't mean the listeners know you.
I'm Rita Wild. Hello.
I am C.W. West.
And this mini episode, we are talking with Jesse Colin Young. Jesse began the Youngbloods in the mid-'60s and had hits like Get Together and Darkness, Darkness, along with an extensive solo career that is still going today. Jesse just re-recorded his famous song Get Together with his friend, Steve Miller. And the beautiful thing about this is 100% of the proceeds go to the WHYHUNGER charity started by Harry Chapin in the early 80s.
Jesse also talks about opening for Led Zeppelin on the, I think it was their first U.S. tour, was it not? 69?
Yeah.
And the day his house burned, but his studio was saved, and how he was one of the original founders of the No Nuke concerts.
So please kick back, get together, and enjoy our chat with Jesse Colin Young.
CW.
Hello, Jesse. You can hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Great.
So thank you very much for taking this time to chat with us. How is the pandemic going for you?
Well, there are gifts even in the weirdest things like a pandemic. So we're in South Carolina, in the town that Connie was born in. That's
is that
how we
Charleston?
ended up here. No, we're a couple hours from Charleston inland.
Oh, that's right. Aiken, I think, right?
Yeah, a town called Aiken, yeah.
Yeah, I used to live in a town right outside of Augusta. My father was connected with the military, so Fort Gordon there.
Right.
So right across
Yep.
state line, Aiken. How you doing?
Yep. Yeah, we're 20 minutes from Augusta.
Very cool.
So when I guess it was the day we started lockdown, I said, well, okay. Well, we know how to spend time together. We got animals. Connie said, why don't you, we'll go in the studio, get your guitar and play Sugar Babe or something that's fun. I'll record it on my phone. We'll stick it up. I mean, that became the focus almost daily, something for us to do, work, pleasure.
Entertaining your fans.
Yeah, to be able to give that at a time that was crucial was, I don't know, ever since I moved to the Bay Area in 1967 and experienced what it was like to play for free outdoors. Of course, we're kind of indoors now, but Youngbloods started off in New York, and nobody plays for free in New York. But there was a lot of that going on, and I found out a lot of the favorite shows that I played were the free shows, where people just showed up in the park and we would do it.
That was like Golden Gate Park?
Yeah. So, Golden Gate or the Panhandle, or which is...
I grew up in Marin County also. So I remember as a little kid knowing the Youngbloods were in Marin, and I was like all excited. So it was really kind of cool to have you guys there.
Oh, it was wonderful to be there. We came there after 7 years on the Lower East Side.
Big difference, huh?
And I was born in Queens. So yes, I had a lot of city experience, and I was dying to live in the country.
Yeah.
I always kind of associated with the Youngbloods always being a West Coast band, but I know that you had like a lot of success in Greenwich Village and stuff, but it really seemed to happen for you guys in the San Francisco sound, that whole era.
Yep. We got there to play the Avalon Ballroom on the 15th of June, 1967. We'd never been to the West Coast. We didn't know what was going on. Obviously, our management didn't know. I walked into this cheap motel on Geary Street. We were staying in, 2 blocks from the Avalon. And, Get Together was on the radio. I had no idea. I mean, we had a hit record in San Francisco.
Wow.
It was the beginning of the Summer of Love. So, and when we went down to the Avalon, play that night, it was full. Instead of playing to 40 people in New York, we went home, packed our stuff, and moved because we had, Get Together had made a home for us in the Bay Area the first time around.
That was such a perfect song for that time. The Summer of Love, like you said, 1967, it becomes a big hit, but then it becomes an even bigger hit in 1969. And I think with all the things that have been going on, the assassinations of, Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy, and just the war going on in Vietnam, it resonated a bit more with people.
Yeah, I think so. It was time. I know I have a friend who started a veterans program called Saratoga Warhorse, and he was a medevac pilot in Vietnam. And he said, "You were in the jungle with me every day."
That means a lot.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I don't think people really understand about Vietnam and how that kind of changed so many people. I mean, politically, it was a hot potato because, and then the lies from the Nixon administration going into Cambodia. But the way that people were treated then that came back, those soldiers, and the way that they are still continued to be treated. I'm very involved in veteran suicide. And, just the amount of numbers that still happen today. I mean, if you look back at Vietnam, we lost more people here in America from suicide of veterans than actually died in the war. That's just wrong.
Wow. The music helped. That was the way I served. And that was a good decision on the government's part because I'm not nearly as good with a rifle as I am with a guitar. So I was in the right place. I was deployed in the proper place, and what a joy. So again, this joy to be able to bring music to people's homes in another time of grief and worry and fear is a great pleasure. And I guess I think and perhaps we're still doing it, but for the first month, I think we might have put up 20 songs. So I just came back from the studio, and we had such a good response to One Song at a Time that BM Jews, my label, said, "Why don't you make a solo record like One Song at a Time?" I said, "I just finished it about an hour ago, although it's not mixed yet."
Yeah.
It's all the hard stuff is done and the fun stuff too.
Did you record all the stuff yourself?
No more of that. Yes, I did that from 70 on. I recorded and learned to, I built a studio. I learned to engineer. I went through all of that and produced and engineered all those albums on Warner Brothers. No, I really don't want to learn whatever it is, the program and the name.
Pro Tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just decided, maybe 5 years ago, I'm not going to learn that. I'm going to let younger men who know how to handle all this digital gear record me from now on. So
I think it's interesting that you've kind of come full circle again with the song Get Together, and you decided to re-record it with Steve Miller just recently and re-release it as a fundraiser?
As a fundraiser for WHYHUNGER. And, 2 years ago, I was touring with this young band, all from Berklee College of Music, including my son, Tristan. We had made an album called Dreamers, which was very political, didn't get played much. And we were in Nashville where we had recorded it, and we had a day off all of a sudden. And so I love the way all these people who are all in their 20s, guys and gals in my band, they love Get Together. And so I wanted a recording of it. So we were able to go into Sound Emporium where we made the album and actually have our engineer. Somebody canceled that night and we went in, and I just kept it. I think maybe in September, I thought, here comes an election year. This is going to get ugly and we're going to need Get Together. We're going to need all the love that we can lay our hands on. So I was having dinner with Steve in New York. I said, I've got to get together and I think we're going to need it this year. You want to play on it and sing? And he said, I'm in. So that last October, when he came off the road for his normal summer thing, I called him and said, I've redone my parts. The rest of it's beautiful, what the kids did. It's time for you. So either late November or early December, we had a day together at a studio on the Lower East Side, a block and a half from my Avenue B apartment. And it's finally released. We mixed it in January. Steve sang on it, played lead.
It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it's so needed at this time and this place of where we're at in so many different ways. Although there's social distancing, but there's still, as a group of humans, we need to exactly get together and love one another and quit bickering over the stupid little things in life and work more as a team and not individuals.
Yes. I mean, here we are again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful and strange circle. Steve and I both moved to the Bay Area in 1967. And I don't think I met him until a year later.
Do you see any parallels with having lived through the 60s and the 70s and the real political movements? Do you see a lot of parallels to that today, what we're going through, that there's this kind of awakening of people and knowing that, hey, this is a time to get together?
Yeah. I mean, we're struggling. There's been a lot of ugly things happening, and especially in our discourse. I really know that the way my country should move is toward each other and not away from each other.
Listening to your Dreamers album, it feels like you write a lot on world tragedies. From Cast of Stone, which is written about your son who was near the Boston Marathon, For Orlando, which is for the Pulse nightclub massacre, and While Texas is Drowning, about the massive floods in Texas. You have a very large, compassionate heart. Obviously, you must feel a lot of pain for the world events that you're being able to write all this about it.
Most of my albums are not that political, and I was pleased to find, these were what was happening to us, bombings and this unbelievable tragedies that started to become commonplace. And my job, I'm a reporter, and I report in what I see, and I wanted to talk about those things. I heard about the Pulse nightclub 5 minutes before Tristan and I were going to go play Sunlight and Get Together at my cousin's wedding.
Oh my God.
And I was horrified, and I burst into tears, and then I thought, okay, the show must go on. So I kind of stuffed it down, but as soon as that trip was over, I went up in the mountains here in North Carolina, and I just sat down on the porch one day, boom, and it came out. The song. I knew I I would write a song about it. And that While Texas is Drowning, it came out as a, Connie and I wanted to write, we wrote that together, something about the environment, but I had no idea it would come out as a Cajun waltz. But I'm not really in charge of that. Inspiration comes through me. It's not always conscious, nor am I always in control of it. I've been through this enough to know just to pay attention to what's happening and how I feel and just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Another song that you had a lot of great success with was Darkness, Darkness. And in between that time, you learned about owning your songs. You got the publishing for that. You learned all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that was my manager, Herb Gart, who said, you should have your own publishing. Yeah, all the tunes that I write either go to Pigfoot or to Connie Kapila. Darkness, we played with David Lindley's band in San Francisco, Kaleidoscope, I think it was called.
Wow.
And that lovely modal change in Darkness, Darkness, that was in one of their songs that was on the radio at that time in San Francisco. And boy, at that time, FM radio, you never heard the same song twice. Yeah. And you heard all this great music that you'd never heard before. It was incredible. What a time for a musician to be able to just turn on the radio and learn something. Well, I guess that's kind of true today, but boy, then what a trip.
Doesn't happen today, except for, being able to do this on podcasts or some like NPR and stuff like that. It's a shame. We're both in the radio business many decades, and it's just sad to see what's going on in the business. But the important thing is that the music still always lasts, and that's what I'm grateful and thankful for. I love the rendition that Robert Plant did of Darkness, Darkness.
Yeah, he called me. I was living in Hawaii at the time on our little coffee farm, and he was in a taxi in London, and he said, I've recorded Darkness, and he said, I want you to hear it. So he sent me, I think they did 7 mixes of it. In those days, they were still doing a mix for this kind of FM and a mix for that and AM. And
well, he won a Grammy for that too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Now, did you ever play with the Led Zeppelin?
Yes, we played once with them, Youngbloods.
And what was that like? Did you open for them or did they open for you?
Yeah, we opened for them. This was in Seattle. And Seattle was probably the strongest town. I mean, that was the only place that the Youngbloods could draw 10,000 people or ever did. And that was because of that first record. It was a hit in San Francisco and Seattle and Portland. And that was really all. It was in the places where the revolution had begun and the turning to love and smiling at each other in the street. It was wonderful to play with him. It was a great crowd. He was in good voice.
You knew who they were at that time?
I did. Let me think what year that was.
69, was it?
Yeah, that's when the first album came out. So yeah, 69 probably.
Yeah, 69.
Well, that's right. Julie was 3. She was not playing me Led Zeppelin. I was thinking of my daughter.
Ah.
I had a son a couple of years after that, Cheyenne, and we were digging a hole for some reason when he was about 6 or 7 years old, and he had the boombox there, and there was this mandolin going on. I said, Shy, that's cool. What is that? And he said, you're kidding me, Dad. You don't know that Led Zeppelin song? I said, no, I never heard it, man. That's cool.
Oh, that's great.
Kids tune me in.
Now, Cheyenne, is that the one that still runs your recording studio in California?
No, that's my godson.
Oh, okay.
Ethan Turner. Rick Turner, the famous luthier.
Oh, okay.
That's Rick's son, who I've known since he was a baby. That
must have been weird because I believe your house burnt down in one of the mini fires, but the studio stayed. Yeah, the studio. Oh, I just want to tell you before, my daughter just finished a record at that studio with Ethan. And she loved being on the ridgetop and recording there. This is her name is Jasmine. She'll be releasing that soon, I guess. But this
Jasmine Young?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Jazzy Young, I think she goes.
What kind of music is it?
It's, I would say, on the softer side of pop. Some of it reminded me of Shakira, which I heard 700 times when she was growing up. That was one.
Well, it's better than Barney 700 times.
Good God, yes.
Yeah, so another circle. Here it is.
Yeah.
I'm recording with Steve. She's recording on the ridgetop and loved it, felt, strength from it, the way I used to made a lot of records there. And the reason that the studio didn't burn was we're on a really steep hill, and the studio was down in a gully. So it was only 100 feet from the house. When the forest burned, I asked the fire department, what happened? Because when I came up and found the studio, as far as the eye can see, there is nothing but burning stumps. In this forest. It was this forest of 100-foot trees. It was so beautiful. I wrote a song about them. And they were all gone. And there's this little building. It's got 5 scorched boards on the deck. The fireman said, and especially when you prune out these bishop pines, all the fuel is at the top. So the burning was so ferocious that it sucked all the oxygen out from down low. He said that's the only explanation there can be. There was not enough oxygen to burn a couple 100 feet down in that gully.
Wow. Incredible.
The house, 4 stories. I mean, there was only this much of it left. That was the ash. A foot, 10 inches. Tough to go through. But
yeah. Well, at least you have your life and your family.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And your guitars.
Yeah. Although I don't have the Youngblood bass. That burned up. I got most of them, and my sons spent a frantic hour throwing tapes into the back of one of their pickup trucks. Cheyenne and I think of Ethan as a son, my godson. And because we had a whole basement full of tapes, so they filled up the pickup truck.
Yeah.
And some of the tape is hanging out of the boxes, and got it off the hill and threw some guitars in there and got it all off the hill. And in the end, the studio survived, and the tapes would have been, but who would have known? I mean.
Yeah. Lucky they were there.
Yeah.
They saved the music.
Hey, I hope that you're enjoying our conversation with Jesse Colin Young. Time for a quick break.
First off, we always want to thank our fabulous Patreon supporters. They're the ones that believe in us so much that they're willing to make a small pledge, just a small pledge each month to keep the show a-rolling. We couldn't do it without you. If you have it in your heart and love rock and roll stories like we do, please go to the support tab on our website at rockandrollconfessional.rocks, ROCKS, or directly to Patreon to make a small pledge. Every dollar counts, and we can use an extra dollar.
Also, if you are a subscriber or listener via iTunes, please take a couple of minutes to rate us and write a quick review. We need your reviews to move up the podcast charts.
In our second half with Jesse Colin Young, Jesse tells us stories about recording the first Youngbloods album and how he was one of the founding fathers to the No Nukes concert.
Now get ready for the second half of our interview with Jesse Colin Young. You had a lot of success in the early and mid-'70s being a solo artist. I know there was a station here in Los Angeles called KNX-FM that really spotlighted your music a lot. It was always great and joyful to hear. So it's interesting to see how music has evolved that way.
Yeah. When we first recorded at RCA in New York, Youngblood's first album, artists were not allowed to touch the board.
Because of the union?
Kind of a union thing. And no one was happy to receive any, shouldn't that be a little brighter? And I think I made up my mind that if I ever had a chance, by God, I was going to learn how to engineer. So I built that house on a ridgetop. I don't think I spent more than $30,000 because I wrote the song on the backside of Get Together. So I got a check for $25,000 or $30,000. I said, I'll build a house. And then 2 years later, Three Dog Night had a hit on Sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I got another check of that size. I think it was $25,000. I said, I'm going to build a studio right down there.
Wow.
So I did. And then by that time, I had moved on to Warner Brothers, and Joe Smith and Mo Austin, two of the greatest folks I ever met in the record business. They lent me the money, advanced me the money to buy some equipment. And I started learning how to engineer. And Julie was really the first. Well, the first album was called Together, and it was an acoustic album, and we recorded it just me playing my Martin and a drummer, and Scott Lawrence, who played keyboards with me. He was my wife's little brother, my ex-wife's little brother. So we did that, and then I overdubbed the bass, and so it was real simple, but it was me learning. At that point, I had, 10 Shure mics, which were part of our live show, and a board, and very little else, and a tape machine. I had a 4-track or an 8-track? I think I had a 4-track, the size of a fridge.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And what a joy to pass it on. Ethan was the only one that was interested in learning engineering, so he did. Now he's Julie's engineer for this record.
Does he use Pro Tools?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those too. It's like, that old splicing tape, I'm way back there. I got that down.
With a razor blade?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the razor blade, splicing tape,
You ever tried 2-inch?
No.
It used to terrify me when I would cut a piece of 2-inch.
In 79, you played one of the most iconic and protest concerts, the No Nukes show. And I was wondering how you got invited to be a part of that show. I mean, that was there was, I think almost 200,000 people at that concert.
There were 200,000 at Battery Park.
Yeah.
We played a week at Madison Square Garden. Not me.
Oh.
I played one night with Jackson. Actually, I am one of the founders of No Nukes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, not the organization, but No Nukes started the night that I called Tom Campbell. I'm sitting with 2 babies, and I'm watching public TV, and on come these scientists who I think became the Union of Concerned Scientists, talking about plutonium being poisonous for 250,000 years. And I just could not believe it. I didn't know much about it, but I thought to myself, don't these blankety blanks have any children? Don't they care? I mean, about their grandchildren or even, I couldn't believe it. So I called Tom Campbell. He was the only promoter that would do benefits. And Jackson and I played several together, Redwoods and this and that. And actually, there was money left over at the end for the cause, the only time. So he was the only promoter I knew who did that, who did benefits and made money. And he had moved from LA to New Mexico. And I said, Tom, we got to do something. We got to do it now. So he moved back to LA. And later that year, we played the first No Nukes concert at Cuesta College with David Brownberg and I. And that continued. I mean, that continued on. Jackson and I had been playing together before then. And Bonnie and I did a solar show in San Luis Obispo. I mean, it grew from there, and it was growing all over the country. Why No Nukes, I think, was such a success was because of all the grassroots groups that were active everywhere.
Yes.
Resisting nuclear power, saying, come on, guys, we're going to boil water this way and create plutonium. Are you kidding me? So we became the musical arm of this movement. That's why I was included in the show.
That's great.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Jesse, we have, at the end of the show, we do what's called the bonus round. We have some quick questions, real fast and furious. Sure. So we're going to throw these questions at you, and hopefully they're easy enough for you to answer. What was the very first concert you went to?
Chuck Berry and Richie Valens at the Brooklyn Paramount.
Wow, what a great combo.
Yeah, I mean, there were other people on the show, but I missed them. There for Richie and Chuck.
Who would you want to play with that you've never played with?
Yo-Yo Ma.
Oh, ooh, that would be beautiful.
Yes, I wanted him on Get Together, but it didn't happen.
Oh.
I believe there was a violinist on there, was there not?
Yes, Charles Yang.
Yes.
An amazing violinist whom we met here in Aiken. 10 years ago, there was Juilliard in Aiken. And the Juilliard students would come down here on their spring vacation and play in this little horse town down here. And I met Charles then. I spent about 20 years with Lyme disease. I was just starting to feel better when I met the fella who started Saratoga Warhorse. And he was going to start one here. It's a veterans thing using horses. And
that's right.
I said, I'll do anything to support you. I went home and thought, oh, God, he's going to ask me to play. I haven't played in 7 years. I was way too sick to travel and with Lyme's, but I was starting to get better. And Charles and Peter Dugan, who now does an NPR show called From the Top or something like that. It's a jazz show where people come on and Peter plays with them. And so I knew them from there, and they were in town doing another show for Juilliard and Aiken. I said, come over and let's play some of my tunes. And I mean, they just, no charts, no nothing, just they fell right into it. And I thought, my God, we could do this. We could play a show for Saratoga Warhorse. We raised $250,000 and the money was wonderful and the cause was perfect. And playing with Peter, and there's a video of it. It's called Out of the Darkness. And I don't know, it's somewhere. It's either on YouTube and it's just the three of us playing that show together, which made me realize that, oh my God, I got through it. Maybe I can start playing again. So.
And you did.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't stopped since.
What was your very first record?
Earth Angel. I remember holding it up. It has a red label, and it was, of course, a 78. And I'm in the front of the record store. This is in Garden City, Long Island. And I hold it up, and I see, because I'm reading it, the Penguins. I wanted to know who the group was.
Yeah. That's great.
Do you have one band you regret never seeing live?
Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Great. Well, Jesse Colin Young, thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
It's been great.
Oh, my pleasure, you guys.
I'm glad you're still producing great music. You've got your latest album, which is called Dreamers, which came out last year, and then Get Together, which is a new video. And I guess every time that's seen or streamed, there's a little teeny clink that goes into the charity, correct?
It goes to Why Hunger. And, you know, when we picked a charity, we knew that we were going to do a charity from the beginning. And we talked about it with Steve, and I said, it's okay if we don't make any money off this? He said, sure. So we found Why Hunger through our publicist, Michael Jensen, and found that they were a perfect fit. This was started by Harry Chapin sometime in the 80s. So it's and it is worldwide at this point, although mostly in America. And we thought, okay, what's going to happen? People are going to run out of food. I mean, people who are living hand to mouth, how are they going to eat? So we decided the charity all of it goes to Why Hunger. I'm sure it's teeny little bits, because every time somebody listens to Get Together, there it goes. I think you can also buy, for $1 or whatever. You could buy the download at the Why Hunger site.
Okay. That's great.
That's good.
We'll put that on our website.
And that's beautiful. If you did that back in January, little did you know there'd be a pandemic that would shut down so many businesses. And the food lines these days are just, amazing with all these people that are in need of that. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Jesse.
My pleasure, you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for all the wonderful music and continued best of health. And what's your favorite guitar back there? What I got to ask.
It's over here. It's a Taylor.
Oh.
That I bought from the factory. Somebody made this for me 10 years ago, and it sat in the factory showroom.
Oh, my God.
They didn't know they were making it for me. But it's got dolphins.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is definitely for a peace hippie. Dolphins, I got doves. I got all of this on this beautiful neck.
Is that the Taylor company that's down by San Diego?
Yes.
Look at that
nice.
guitar. Oh, my God. Look at that beautiful inlay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a little Hawaii in there for you with the dolphins.
Yes, it does. And that's really important. We still have the farm. And
you're still selling coffee.
Yes, we're still selling coffee.
You can find that on your website.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You too. Stay safe.
I hope that you enjoyed that. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I really like Jesse Colin Young.
Yeah.
And like I said, I loved Get Together, and I love Darkness. And even, as you mentioned, the Robert Plant version.
Oh, yeah.
That came out, I hate to say it, how many years ago?
It's probably maybe 10.
10, 15 years ago, maybe?
10
years ago? Maybe a little more.
Maybe a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Special thanks today to Jesse Colin Young for Zooming with us all the way from South Carolina. And a big thank you to Ryan Reminesco and Michael Jensen for coordinating the interview.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Jesse's website can be found at jessecolinyoung.com. And you can follow him on Facebook and Instagram at Jesse Colin Young. Every episode, we create show notes on our guests and about the show and the subjects they talked about. You can go check them out on our website. That's rockandrollconfessional.rocks and find out some really cool extra videos and bonus things that are there.
So please follow, like, and share us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Keep rocking next week. Ooh, we got a good one.
Yeah, or next episode. Yeah, we got a lot of good ones, but next episode's a good one too. And if you're listening to out of order, then all the next episodes are really good.
Rama Lama, you'll be hearing from us very soon.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate it.
Wear your mask.
Bye.